All right, good morning. If you were in the first broadcast, you noticed that my volume was messed up. And so I'm going to reshoot this for just recording purposes, and I'll post it up in the community. If you do find this while I'm recording, you can jump in and we can talk afterwards for a little bit. I will have to go to work, but I'm going ahead and going to re-record it. Now, normally, I'll tell you what happened. As I'll kind of allude to through this discussion, but sometimes Google stuff can be a little glitchy. For me today, my headset was not working. I just jumped on and my audio was working with Janie, so hopefully this recording is not going to be all for nothing. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the training, and then you can go back and watch the recording. And sorry about it if you guys were joining me earlier. Here we go. Okay, so today's training is for getting started with Hangouts and Hangouts in education. So this is a very basic how to get started with Hangouts, and specifically how to join Hangouts. On Friday, I'm going to cover more how to start your Google Hangout or your Google Hangout on Air. And I'm going to run through this really quickly. Two reasons. One, it's recorded and you can go through at your own pace. And two, is this is my second time doing this back-to-back. So I broke the training down into two parts. First is the why. This is the what, the technical side of things. And the second part is the why. Why do we care? So the what is Google Hangouts. This can get really confusing because, as you're going to see when I go through the terminology, Google Hangouts means many things. So if you aren't clear or specific when you use specific terms, then you can get really confused really quickly. And then I'll go and show you the actual technical side of how to join a Google Hangout. So first of all, you got to know a little bit of Google history. Google had a whole suite of communication products that were housed separately under Gmail, and then later when they started Google+. Under Gmail, you had Google Voice and Google Talk. If you remember those services, Google Talk was like an instant messenger. And then in Google+, they had a separate messaging service that was under Google+. And then the Google Hangouts, which most of us refer to it as the video Hangouts. Now, Google did a smart thing because I could chat with you on Talk in Gmail, but then go to Google+, and I would have to chat with you with a separate service if I wanted to. So now Google umbrellaed everything into one technology that's called, they kept the name Hangouts. Okay, so this is good because now I can chat to you via text on Google+. I can go to my Gmail and I can continue the conversation in the same text chat. So that's a good thing. Okay. And the way we find those, if you're in Google+, it's the Google Hangouts icon on the top right-hand side. And if you're in Gmail, the icon is on the bottom left-hand side. And if you click that icon, a little side panel is going to open up, and you can find your past conversations with people that you can continue, or you can just click the little magnifying glass and you can search your contact that you want to connect with. And this is what it looks like in Google+. The only difference is you have a start a video hangout at the bottom. And we're going to cover this Friday, not so much here, but that is a difference. The not so good thing is the programming geniuses that they are at Google. They do amazing things, but they kept the name Hangouts for everything. So this gets completely confusing, not only for us when we're reading any kind of documentation about Hangouts, but also as we speak about Google Hangouts. And specifically, if for now I'm doing a training session and it can get really confusing really quickly. So that's the bad thing. So back to our question, what are Google Hangouts? I like to call them the Swiss Army knife of online communication within Google. So you can make phone calls, you can send instant messages on your phone or via the computer, or you can have the video conference call. So I call these audio hangouts, text hangouts, and video hangouts. Just a little side note, if you're in the US or Canada, the audio hangout option or the phone calls is really cool because it's free if you're calling within the US or Canada. So if you're not confused yet, you're about to be even more confused because not only did they call everything Google Hangouts, but then they came out with this other really super cool service that had the name Hangouts in it as well. So Google Hangouts On Air, also called HOA. So what and Google Hangout On Air is, it is the video hangout option from Google+. If you combine that with YouTube, you would get a Google Hangout On Air. So what does that mean? Right? If you look on the left-hand side, this is essentially like a Skype conversation most of us are familiar with. So this means you are inside the video call. So your audio, your video is being recorded. All right, I call this being inside. If you're outside, that means you are streaming through YouTube. Okay, so we can be a participant inside the Hangout, or we can be a participant outside of the Hangout, and we're just watching. So it's a difference between watching TV and physically talking to someone in the virtual sense. I also like to call this the difference between being on Oprah versus watching Oprah. So are you on the show or are you watching from home? Okay, so the technical bits. If you're new, this is going to help you out. So how do you join a Hangout? So some of this applies to both video Hangouts and Hangouts on Air. And some of it is specific. So first, if you're going to be on Oprah, you're going to be inside of the video Hangout. Your first option is a ringing notification. The next, we have a quiet notification, then an ongoing call notification, and a link. I'll show you what these are in just a second. The link is the best way to get inside of a Hangout on Air. The other notifications can have a delay to them. So if you're trying to start a Hangout on Air 5 minutes before the broadcast, 10 minutes before the broadcast, and you send a notification to your guest, they may not get it. So a link is the best option if you can. If you're outside, you have different options. You can go through the Google Plus event page. You can watch an embedded video on a website, or you can watch on YouTube. All right, so if you are going to be on Oprah, so you're going to be inside of the video Hangout or inside of the Hangout on Air. The first one is a ringing option. So if you have your Google Plus open, a Google Hangout chat box or the text box will open up, and it will give you an option to click to join the video call. Just a little side tip, if you have your cell phone hooked up to Hangouts like I do, my cell phone overrides this. So if my phone is on, my phone will get the call, but not my window on my computer. The next one is a quiet notification. So this is going to appear on the red bell icon. This is your notifications that you get for Google Plus. This one usually has a delay on it. So I wouldn't rely on this one to get someone quickly into a video call, but you can do it. And like I have it appeared here. The next one is if you have a larger group chat, so not just 2 people, and the chat is live and ongoing, you can get to it in 2 ways. One is your Hangout icon in Google Plus. If you hover over the Start Video Hangouts green box, your live video calls that are currently happening will appear above it, and you can join that way. Or you can also hover over your Home tab and then click on Hangouts. And this will bring up your Hangouts home, which has a Hangouts on Air search option, and then Video Hangouts. So click on the Video Hangouts tab, and then you should find your ongoing Video Hangouts, and then you can just join the Hangout. Okay, so what if you are outside of the Hangouts on air? That means you're a passive participant. So you can watch, okay, you can watch Oprah from the event page for the Hangout on Air. You can watch it from an embedded video on a website like GeoShow, or you can watch it on YouTube if you have the YouTube link. And to get there, you're just going to hover over home again, click on events, and you have all of your current and upcoming events. And you can just go straight to the event page and watch from there. The next option is a post. So if someone posted on the page, they posted on your page, or for instance, when I posted in the community, you can go straight to that post and find the events page via post. Okay, so now you're inside of the Hangout. What do you do? Well, on the left side, if you've never been in, you have a whole suite of apps. You can add additional apps. A lot of this is just fluff and bells and whistles, so I'm not going to talk about a lot of it, but I will talk about the first two. The first one is chat. Do not get this confused with the text Hangout option I was talking about earlier. This is only for inside the video call. So I can talk to Oprah only with my texting while someone else is talking. Okay, so this is a handy tool. And the next one, the green icon, is the share screen icon. So this is what I'm doing now. I'm sharing my screen to you guys. Okay, the top toolbar. This is what I'm going to focus on today. Starting from left to right, if you click on the, there's a little man icon. Next to the man icon is the audio icon or microphone. And then next to the microphone is the video icon. And then next to that is your bandwidth icon. And then next to that is your gear icon, your settings. And then the last one is the phone where you hang up. So if we look at them all individually, the man icon is the invite option. So here you can invite by email, you can invite by circles or communities, or if you want to invite the whole public, you can. You'll also be given a link that you can share. We'll talk more about this on Friday when we talk about how to start your own Hangouts. The next one is your audio. You want to click, you can toggle that on and off, and your video. And then next to the video is your bandwidth. Okay, so this is the box that's showing now. So if you have a spotty connection and your video is lagging, you can decrease your bandwidth. That should improve the audio. It will decrease your video, however. On the gear icon is your settings. So if you have, if you want to use a different camera than your built-in camera, when you plug it in, this is where you're going to select that option, or select different microphones. So for instance, teachable moment here, my headset was glitchy and not working earlier. So this is where I would come to switch back to default and away from my headsets if I wanted to change my microphone option. And then the last one is just the phone, the red phone icon. You'll click this to hang up on the video call. If you just close your window and you don't hang up, you can go back to the ongoing call locations that I showed you earlier and jump right back in the Hangout on Air or the Video Hangouts. In the last area, this is a bad example because I'm the only one, but this is where your video thumbnails are going to show up. And you can toggle back and forth between different participants that is on Oprah, so on the show. I will show you this option. If you can see the white box that appears around my thumbnail. Okay, this is called pinning. So you can control your camera. If there is no white box, that means your camera is controlled by audio. So whoever's talking is going to show on full screen. It's important that you know this because as a participant of a virtual field trip, with your classroom, you usually want to keep your mic on mute. This way you won't auto switch the camera. It also affects you because if you have a guest speaker, for instance, say an astronaut, if another class, if their volume is overriding the astronaut, you're going to be watching the other class and not the astronaut while they're speaking to your class. So you may want to click on the thumbnail of your guest presenter so it does not switch back and forth. If you do this, however, and someone else is speaking, you will not see them until you unclick or unpin yourself again. Okay, so really quickly, we won't have the discussion that I was hoping to have with the why, but I will give you a couple bullet points, and please leave in the comments or think about it, and we'll talk about it in our next one. Why Hangouts is such a good option in education, and what can we do with them? How are they being used now, and how can we use them? So I'm going to tell you about that in Google Hangouts in education, and then where to find virtual field trips. And then if you are a participant of a virtual field trip, specifically on a Hangout on Air, how do you be a good participant? Okay, so first, what's happening now? Mystery calls, also referred to as mystery Skypes or mystery location calls. This is basically a game of 20 questions. So typically you have two classrooms. The teachers will not tell their students where the classrooms are or where the other classroom is. And then the students will go back and forth and ask one question at a time, yes or no. You'll start with big macro level, northern, southern hemisphere type of question to really try to pinpoint the location. Younger kids really love this game. I mean, I love this game. It's really cool. Second one, magic numbers. I have not participated in magic numbers personally. My understanding, however, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that magic numbers is very similar to mystery location calls, in that each class comes up with a magic number and the other class has to use math terminology to ask yes or no questions to try to figure out what number the other class is thinking of. And the last one is a virtual field trip. So this is the option, like where I'm going with GeoShow, where you can have a guest presenter, you can have someone take your class somewhere. There's all this option is unlimited, so your imagination is your only holdback. So what could be happening? How can we take it to the next level? And why are Google Hangouts on Air so cool and have so much potential? First, at the school-wide level, if you have a performance at school, so it can be a Christmas play, it can be anything, you can stream this live to parents who can't make the performance or to the rest of the school. You can do the same thing with a sporting event. You can even have multiple camera angles during your performance. So this is where you really go to high level. So we move from, if we remember our Oprah analogy, so we move from, instead of having 4 different guests, okay, now we can log in with 4 different accounts, but use those as different camera angles. So now we have like a TV studio that we're controlling the cameras. Okay, that's pretty advanced stuff, but it's possible, and I can show you how to do it. The next one is a lot of schools are doing announcements, so they have their own school news program, broadcast, if you will. So that's really cool because you can broadcast that to the school and to parents at home. Friday, I'll show you how to do a private, so you could only broadcast that to classrooms. So that's a really cool feature. At the classroom level, this is where I think a lot of teachers aren't using it right now that they could, because a lot of teachers don't know how to do the private option, because you have to start it from YouTube. I'm going to show you how to do it Friday, but you can't start a private Hangout on Air from Google+. So first off, if you have students that are absent, this is a great way to stream something that's very important. Maybe you have a big test review. Even if they can't watch it live, they can watch the recording. Presentations. So think of it as almost having an open class for parents to come see their kids give their presentation that they've been working really hard on. You can share this with just parents via the private option. And maybe self-evaluation. Maybe you want to record yourself, and this is just an easy option. You don't have to have a video camera to set up. If you already have the video conferencing set up with the webcams, then you can just go ahead and not share it with anyone and record a private recording and use it only for yourself. Next, where can you find these virtual field trips? Well, you can find them in Google Plus communities. So the Connected Classrooms community, this one's a little more slow than it has been in the past. So hopefully it picks back up shortly because it's a great resource. Google Hangouts in Education, Mystery Hangout and Mystery Location Calls are two that specifically deal with the mystery game. And then Skype in the classroom. So if you're using Skype, this, in my mind, Skype is light years ahead of Google Hangouts in this department. You can go search, you can do a location search, you can search by topic. It's heaven when you compare it to searching for these things in Google Plus. And so how do you participate? How can we take it to the next level? And we're not just being passive participants. And how do you incorporate it into your class? I have mostly been a presenter with Google Hangouts, and I try to incorporate some of these techniques. But I think as teachers, you can really, you can really take this to the next level, in my mind. Take that virtual experience and make it a real experience. So what do I mean by that? Hit those 5 senses. So for instance, for example, in some of my past presentations, I have spoken with classes about food in Korea. When it was possible, I got the classrooms to order some authentic Korean food off Amazon if you're within the States. For not a lot of money, $8 or $10, it really, I know we'd all don't have the budgets. However, you really take that virtual experience now and you move into the real realm of tasting something. If you have a naturalist speaking to your class or a museum, see if you about reptiles, see if you can get your hands on a snake skin or maybe a turtle shell. Okay, again, we're moving from the virtual experience to the real experience. Okay, second, bridge your virtual field trip with the rest of your classes or day. I know most of you guys do this with other things, and I think sometimes maybe we forget about this with some virtual field trip experiences. But virtual field trips are no different than a regular field trip or any kind of field or any kind of trip anywhere. Research has shown if you come back and you debrief, if you revisit via discussion your trip, it's going to have a longer impact. So for instance, with GeoShow, it wouldn't take long in the morning, but maybe you talk about showing a map. Okay, where's Brandon? Okay, you already have that mind thinking of the kids, the questions they want to ask. So when it's time for your virtual field trip, now they've already been thinking about it. They're more into it. They're more prepared. Even the same goes with post-trip. You can always review back to it. And the third kind of big power tool in my mind is student jobs. And this is where teachers have done a fantastic job with the mystery location calls. With the mystery location calls, teachers are using back channeling. They're using blogging. They have kids running a camera, so documenting the whole experience. You have your map team that are trying to pinpoint the location of the other school. You have your kids that are asking the questions, kids that are keeping track of the questions. All right, so I think you can take the same idea and apply this to other virtual field trips. Now, it may take some pre-communication with your presenter to maybe come up with some unique ways to incorporate student jobs. And the last one I didn't add on here, but I've used in the past is games. I've tried to incorporate group work or kind of I Spy kind of type things with pictures. Any type of interaction that you can get, now you're increasing the experience of your virtual field trip. And the very last thing that you want to keep in mind when participating is, I really want to hammer home this point. If you are inside of the Google Hangout, that means you're on Oprah. You are an active participant. And so what does that mean for you? Well, one, it means you're recording live, so you're limited on your time. It's a 3 o'clock virtual field trip. If you're not there by 3, then you're going to miss it. The next is, it is a live broadcast, so that has legal ramifications. So you need to follow what your administration sets forth. You need to follow what your local laws say about having your kids on a live video call. Just know, I'm no legal expert, but know as a teacher, when you click that yes box going into a Google Hangout on Air and you don't have permission, now you stepped outside of the bounds of the law, and now you can be held responsible if a parent is upset by that. So make sure you clear that with your administration. Second is your broadcast. So what I mean is, earlier I was talking about your audio and how that can affect the broadcast by the camera angles. So if you have a really noisy class, or you have squeaky chairs in your class, this is a job you can have for a kid, but go ahead, either show a kid how to do it and put them on it, or you can do it yourself, but toggle your mute button on and off depending if your class is answering a question or speaking to the rest of the Google Hangouts participants. Okay, so now if you are watching Oprah, so you are a passive participant. So this means you're just watching the broadcast. So this can be done live, or this can be done on demand. So this gives you the leisure of watching when you have the time available. But you don't have that live feel to it, is the downside. With that, your only communication is going to be within comments or Twitter, if your presenter is using Twitter. And this is where I think a lot of presenters like myself and other virtual field trip providers can really take it to the next level. I think we should be incorporating ways to, just like reality TV shows with American Idol and all these other shows where they're asking questions and you text in, hashtag in. I think this is a great opportunity to really try to move these passive participants into the active zone, because there are really cool opportunities that we just can't fit everyone into the Google Hangouts. So at times it makes sense, you know, if you have your A-listers, virtual field trip providers, say a famous astronaut or an author, it's a really good opportunity, but hopefully we start thinking of ways to include these passive participants and move them more to the active participation realm. Okay, that's it for today's makeup training. Don't forget, I launched our Indiegogo fundraiser and I went public with that yesterday. Please, if you don't mind, please share it with anyone that you know. Maybe someone wants to sponsor your class. There are some really cool rewards that go beyond the early bird things, like nice postcards being mailed from the road and different other options as such. Also, if we meet certain thresholds, I'll have funds to actually send a package from the road to a class for a class winner. So I can send an Indonesian package full of snacks and little gifts and toys and stuff, depending on age levels and stuff, from the road. Or if we do a really good job, I may be able to visit your class come June, if you have time, after the trip is finished. Other exciting stuff I'll be playing with this week is yesterday I just got, part of the reason I'm doing the fundraiser, I just got the brick in. So hopefully I'm gonna play with this and we're gonna work out some of our mobile abilities that we're gonna be able to do. So I'll keep you posted on how this goes. I'm sorry our discussion was not able to happen, but I want to know from you guys, what are you doing in class that you're kind of taking these virtual experiences to the next level? And if you can share that with others, it'd be great, because I know there's a lot of people that are new to Google Hangouts. And if you wanted the advanced stuff, remember we are going to touch on some of that on Friday. And I will see you then. Have a great day.